In the golden age of Hollywood, the hills were alive with more than just the sound of music. They were filled with palatial estates, each one a monument to glamour, ambition, and the extravagant dreams of Tinseltown's biggest stars. These mansions were more than houses. They were symbols of success and stages upon which the drama of celebrity life played out. Today, we explore the abandoned mansions that were demolished after the careers of their once legendary owners ended. We will dive into history, the splendor at its peak, the lavish parties and memorable occasions, the stories behind their creation, and the sad fate that awaited them when modernity and neglect took hold. 1. William O. Jenkins. The Jenkins House. William O. Jenkins was a name synonymous with ambition and old-school glamour. His mansion, known simply as the Jenkins House, was built in the early part of the 20th century. With its grand Mediterranean architecture, the Jenkins House stood proudly on South Irving Boulevard. At its peak, the mansion was a marvel of engineering and style. Thick stone walls, graceful arches, and sprawling gardens set the stage for lavish parties that would have made any Hollywood film set blush. The house was built by a renowned architect who understood how to blend traditional European elegance with modern American sensibilities. The cost of building the mansion was astronomical at the time, a true testament to the wealth and ambition of its owner. Guests at the Jenkins House often enjoyed decadent soirees, complete with live music, dancing, and sumptuous feasts. It was a place where the rich and famous gathered to celebrate their success. However, as time marched on, the mansion's glory faded. After Jenkins sold the property, its importance diminished in the changing landscape of Hollywood real estate. In 1957, the Jenkins House was demolished. The decision was driven by new development projects that promised more profit from commercial and modern residential uses. In the end, the once proud symbol of sugar wealth and Hollywood glamour was razed, making way for an office building that erased much of its storied past. The demolition marked the end of an era when the architecture of the past could stand alongside the ambitions of a new generation. 2. Rudolph Valentino, Falcon Lair. In 1925, Rudolph Valentino purchased an estate above Beverly Hills, a home that he christened Falcon Lair. This was to be his retreat from public life, his castle and the palace, to share with his lady love, Natasha Rambova. His mansion was as dramatic as his on-screen persona. Nestled high above Benedict Canyon, Falcon Lair was designed with exotic details that evoked the mystique of far-off lands. With grand halls, intricate moldings, and a sprawling garden lined with Italian cypress trees, the estate was a living work of art. At the height of his career, Valentino hosted intimate gatherings and extravagant parties that were the talk of Hollywood. Friends and colleagues would marvel at the luxurious decor and impeccable style that adorned every corner of Falcon Lair. It was said that every room in the mansion was crafted with a careful eye for detail, blending art, architecture, and nature seamlessly. However, fate was unkind to the legendary actor. Less than a year after the grand doors of Falcon Lair swung open for him, Valentino passed away unexpectedly. In the years following his death, the mansion became a revolving door of tenants. Its opulent interior could no longer keep pace with the shifting tastes of the post-silent film era. By 2006, a major renovation project had started. Although the intention was to restore the mansion, plans changed, and the main building was eventually bulldozed. 3. Alla Nazimova, Garden of Allah. Alla Nazimova was a visionary actress and producer who defied the norms of her time. She believed that a mansion should be more than a home. It should be a work of art. Her estate, known as the Garden of Allah, was a reflection of her creative spirit and larger-than-life personality. Built in the early 1910s, the Garden of Allah featured expansive gardens filled with rare plants, decorative fountains, and intricate mosaics that invited guests into a fairy tale world. At its peak, the Garden of Allah was the very heartbeat of Hollywood. Stars and socialites flocked to its grounds for high tea, intimate concerts, and themed parties that celebrated the arts. Nazimova herself often hosted literary salons and musical evenings that blended the avant-garde with classic elegance. The mansion was also a place of refuge and inspiration, a sanctuary where creativity flowed as freely as the champagne served at its gatherings. Despite its cultural significance, the Garden of Allah could not withstand the pressures of time. By 1959, the estate had fallen into disrepair. Once a beacon of bohemian luxury, it was gradually neglected as newer, more modern homes were built across Los Angeles. Eventually, financial challenges and a lack of viable preservation efforts led to its demolition. New development projects saw the estate as nothing more than a piece of land ripe for commercial use. Buster Keaton, Italian Villa. Buster Keaton, the master of silent film comedy, was as renowned for his deadpan expressions as he was for his innovative stunts. His home, the Italian Villa, reflected the same spirit of creative daring and understated elegance. Built in the 1920s, the Italian Villa was a stunning example of Mediterranean revival architecture. With its terracotta roofs, arched doorways, and scenic courtyards, the villa was designed to provide a tranquil retreat away from the hectic pace of Hollywood. At its peak, the Italian Villa was a favored retreat for Keaton and his close friends. It hosted quiet gatherings where laughter and clever banter filled the air. The mansion was often the setting for behind-the-scenes brainstorming sessions and impromptu comedy rehearsals. The elegant outdoor patios and the meticulously landscaped gardens provided a perfect balance between work and relaxation. But as the years went by, the Italian Villa's charm was overshadowed by a growing need for modern amenities and the inevitable financial burdens of maintaining such a grand property. By 1948, as new developments began to sprout across Los Angeles, the Italian Villa was demolished. The decision was made to clear the land for modern development, and in doing so, the storied comedy and creative energy of Buster Keaton's home was lost forever. 5. Marion Davies, Santa Monica Beach House. Marion Davies was a glamorous actress and a celebrated socialite. Her beach house in Santa Monica was a beacon of casual elegance combined with old Hollywood glamour. Built during the height of her career, the Santa Monica Beach House was designed as a sun-drenched retreat from the rigors of stardom. The mansion featured expansive balconies, airy rooms, and a sweeping view of the Pacific Ocean that made every sunset feel like a personal screening of nature's own cinema. At its peak, the house was known for hosting extravagant poolside parties and summer soirees. Guests mingled on the manicured lawns, enjoying live jazz, gourmet hors d'oeuvres, and the soft murmur of waves in the background. Marion Davies personally oversaw every detail, ensuring that the house reflected both her sophisticated taste and her larger-than-life personality. The property was also a place of respite, where Davies could escape the constant glare of the spotlight and find solace in the gentle rhythm of the ocean. However, as the decades passed, the Santa Monica Beach House could not escape the tide of change. After Davies's career waned and new generations of homeowners sought more modern accommodations, the once coveted beach house lost its luster. By 1956, neglect and the high costs of maintenance led to its eventual demolition. The property was redeveloped for residential use, and the memories of those glittering days on the coast were slowly buried under modern construction. 6. Dean Martin, Trousdale Estates home. Dean Martin, the suave and smooth-talking entertainer, was known for his impeccable style and effortless charm. His home in Trousdale Estates was the embodiment of mid-century modern design. Built in the early 1960s, the Trousdale Estates home was characterized by its clean lines, open spaces, and panoramic views of Los Angeles. The property was designed to blur the boundaries between indoor and outdoor living, with large glass windows that invited the California sun to fill every room. At its peak, Dean Martin's home was the epicenter of Hollywood's social scene. It was here that intimate gatherings and poolside parties brought together A-list celebrities. The living room was often filled with laughter, live music, and the clinking of cocktail glasses as Martin entertained friends and industry insiders. The home was not only a private retreat, but also a place where Hollywood's elite could network and celebrate their shared success. After Dean Martin passed away in 1995, the Trousdale Estates home became a relic of a bygone era. The property, once a symbol of charm and sophistication, faced the relentless pressures of modern real estate development. In the late 1990s, the mansion was demolished to make way for a larger, more contemporary residence. 7. Jane Mansfield, Pink Palace. Jane Mansfield was known for her exuberance, wild spirit, and unmistakable beauty. Her mansion, famously known as the Pink Palace, was an extension of her personality. Painted in vibrant shades of pink and adorned with bold decorative elements, the Pink Palace was a playful yet luxurious statement. The property was built in the late 1950s and quickly became one of the most talked-about estates in Beverly Hills. Inside the Pink Palace, every room was a reflection of Mansfield's desire to live life in full color. Lavish furnishings, heart-shaped bathtubs, and bold art pieces filled the space. The mansion hosted glamorous parties, where the brightest stars of Hollywood gathered for evenings of decadent revelry. Guests would arrive in vintage convertibles and leave with stories of unforgettable nights filled with laughter, music, and scandalous fun. Sadly, as time went by, the Pink Palace could not keep up with the changing tastes of its owners. By 2002, the mansion had fallen into disrepair, and new owners decided that the property was no longer viable as a historical gem. Demolition was chosen as the path forward. The vibrant colors and unique design were lost forever, as the property was replaced with a modern structure. 8. Dino De Laurentiis, The Knoll. Dino De Laurentiis was a powerhouse film producer who brought many classic movies to life. His mansion, known as the Knoll, was a testament to his taste for both luxury and modern design. Built during the height of his career in the mid-20th century, the Knoll was characterized by its sleek lines and innovative architecture. It was a place where classic Italian style met Hollywood extravagance. At its peak, the Knoll was not only a private residence but also a gathering place for film industry elites. The mansion hosted movie premieres, industry mixers, and intimate gatherings where ideas were shared over fine wine and gourmet meals. The design of the home was both modern and inviting, with expansive rooms that opened onto beautifully landscaped gardens. The Knoll was a living stage where the drama of Hollywood played out in real life. However, as time passed, the Knoll too was swept up in the tide of progress. By 2002, the property had been abandoned by its celebrity owner, and subsequent owners saw little value in preserving its mid-century modern charm. The mansion was demolished to make way for new development, a decision driven by economic pressures and the lure of contemporary architecture. 9. Bob Hope, Toluca Lake Estate. Bob Hope was one of America's most beloved entertainers, known for his quick wit and engaging stage presence. His estate in Toluca Lake was a sprawling property that showcased the charm of traditional English architecture mixed with Californian flair. Built as a private sanctuary, the Toluca Lake Estate was a grand home filled with comfortable living spaces, expansive gardens, and numerous amenities designed to entertain family and friends. At its peak, the estate was the venue for legendary Hollywood gatherings. Bob Hope's home hosted charity events, lavish dinner parties, and relaxed family weekends. The property was often filled with laughter, live music, and heartfelt toasts celebrating the spirit of show business. The estate's interior was decorated with timeless elegance, while the outdoor areas featured lush lawns, a grand swimming pool, and even a private golf course where Hope could unwind with close friends. In the years following Bob Hope's death, the Toluca Lake Estate struggled to maintain its former glory. The home, which had once been a vibrant hub of Hollywood social life, began to deteriorate. By 2018, economic pressures and the high costs of upkeep led to a decision to demolish the mansion. New development plans saw the property as more valuable in a modern residential project. 10. Lucille Ball, Beverly Hills Home. Lucille Ball was a television pioneer whose work on I Love Lucy brought joy and laughter to millions. Her home in Beverly Hills was a modest yet elegant reflection of her practical and warm personality. Unlike the grand palaces of some of her contemporaries, Lucille Ball's home was designed with comfort and a lived-in charm in mind. At its peak, the Beverly Hills home was a warm retreat from the hectic world of show business. The house featured spacious living areas with large windows that let in the California sunshine. It was a place where family gatherings, casual dinner parties, and quiet moments of reflection took place. Lucille Ball had built this home with the intention of creating a sanctuary that balanced Hollywood glamour with everyday comfort. Unfortunately, the very qualities that made the home beloved also contributed to its downfall. As trends shifted and property values skyrocketed, maintaining a house that was modest in scale but rich in history became increasingly challenging. In 2005, the Beverly Hills home was demolished to make way for a modern residential development. The decision was driven by economic factors, as developers saw the land's potential for higher returns in a contemporary project. 11. Frank Sinatra, Twin Palms Estate. Frank Sinatra's Twin Palms Estate in Palm Springs was an iconic example of mid-century modern architecture. Designed by the celebrated architect E. Stewart Williams, the mansion was a bold statement of style and sophistication. With floor-to-ceiling glass walls, a seamless connection between indoor and outdoor spaces, and a layout that captured the spirit of the desert, Twin Palms was as unique as Sinatra himself. At its peak, Twin Palms was the backdrop for some of the most glamorous parties in Palm Springs. Sinatra, at the height of his career, entertained friends, colleagues, and fellow celebrities in a setting that was both luxurious and welcoming. The estate's pool area, with its distinctive modern design, became legendary, a place where the echoes of laughter and clinking glasses could be heard long into the desert night. However, after Sinatra's departure from the public eye, and as tastes shifted toward new styles of architecture and living, the estate's future became uncertain. In 2012, Twin Palms was demolished to make way for a new development. Despite the efforts of preservationists who tried to save the iconic home, economic pressures and the lure of modern luxury ultimately prevailed. 12. Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, Hollywood Hills Home. Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, emblematic figures of the 1990s grunge scene, shared a home in the Hollywood Hills that was a far cry from the opulent estates of old Hollywood. Their modest bungalow was characterized by its simplicity and a raw, unfiltered vibe that perfectly matched their artistic sensibilities. Though the house was small in scale, it became a sanctuary for creative expression and a refuge from the relentless pressures of fame. During their time together, the Hollywood Hills home was a place of both inspiration and turmoil. The walls bore witness to impromptu jam sessions, songwriting sessions, and intense discussions about art and life. Friends from the music industry visited frequently, and the home became an informal gathering place for those who admired Cobain's uncompromising spirit and Courtney Love's fierce energy. The decor was eclectic, mixing vintage finds with personal mementos. After Cobain's tragic death in 1994 and the subsequent unraveling of their shared dream, the house was left abandoned. The simple structure, once vibrant with the energy of youthful creativity, slowly fell into disrepair. By 1997, the property was demolished to clear the way for new development. 13. Marilyn Monroe, Brentwood Home. Marilyn Monroe, the eternal icon of glamour and vulnerability, once called a modest Brentwood home her own. At the peak of her career, this home was more than a residence. It was a safe haven where she could retreat from the unyielding pressures of stardom. The Brentwood home was designed in a style that combined simplicity with subtle elegance. Soft hues, warm furnishings, and carefully chosen decor pieces created an environment that was both welcoming and reflective of Monroe's delicate beauty. The home played host to many intimate gatherings. Close friends and trusted confidants would come over for quiet dinners, private celebrations, and evenings filled with gentle laughter. Monroe's taste for beauty extended to every detail in the home, from the floral arrangements to the vintage records that played softly in the background. The modest yet elegant setting allowed her to be herself, away from the public eye that so often demanded a glamorous facade. Tragically, Marilyn Monroe's life was cut short in 1962. In the wake of her untimely death, the Brentwood home lost its cherished occupant, and soon its luster faded. In 1963, the house was demolished to pave the way for new development projects that promised higher returns in the booming real estate market. 14. Elizabeth Taylor, Bel Air Mansion. Elizabeth Taylor, the queen of Hollywood romance, spent many years in a grand mansion located in the exclusive enclave of Bel Air. This mansion was a true reflection of Taylor's legendary taste and the glamour that she carried with her everywhere she went. Built in 1960, the Bel Air Mansion boasted expansive rooms, beautifully landscaped gardens, and luxurious amenities that made it the perfect retreat for one of Hollywood's most adored stars. At its peak, the mansion was a hub of elegant parties and intimate gatherings. Elizabeth Taylor hosted some of the most lavish events, where the who's who of Hollywood would gather to celebrate art, film, and life. The home was decorated with priceless artworks, rare antiques, and personal mementos that told the story of a life lived in the limelight. It was a place where lavish parties met heartfelt family moments, where the glitter of celebrity mixed with the comfort of home. However, as the years passed and Taylor's career underwent changes, the mansion too became a relic of an era. In 2011, the Bel Air Mansion was demolished to allow for new, modern development. The decision was driven by economic considerations and the belief that the land could be used more efficiently by contemporary developers. Despite preservation efforts by fans and historians who sought to honor its legacy, the Bel Air Mansion was ultimately razed, leaving behind only memories and photographs of a time when Elizabeth Taylor's life was defined by passion, glamour, and an indomitable spirit. 15. Mary Pickford, Pickfair Estate. Mary Pickford, known as America's sweetheart, helped define early Hollywood glamour. In the 1920s, Along with her close friend and co-star Douglas Fairbanks, she built the legendary Pickfair estate. This sprawling property was more than a house. It was a statement. At its peak, Pickfair sparkled with old-world charm. Its elegant gardens, stately facades, and ornate interiors were the backdrop to countless glamorous parties and private gatherings. The estate was a hub where the most influential names in the film industry would meet, share ideas, and celebrate their success. Every corner of Pickfair spoke of luxury. Lavish dinner parties were held under twinkling chandeliers, and the grand halls echoed with laughter and music. Pickfair was not just built by celebrity power. It was built by celebrities. The house symbolized the dreams and hard work of a generation determined to make a mark in an emerging industry. However, as time passed and Hollywood evolved, so did the fate of Pickfair. Ownership changed hands, and the once pristine estate began to show signs of neglect. By the 1980s and 1990s, the property had lost much of its original luster. Financial pressures and the drive for modern redevelopment eventually led to its partial demolition. 16. Charlie Chaplin. Villa Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, the gentle genius behind the silent film era, had a side of his life that was as dramatic as his on-screen persona. His mansion, affectionately known as Villa Chaplin, was a private retreat from the bright lights and constant demands of Hollywood. Villa Chaplin was designed to be a haven. Built in the 1920s, it featured sprawling lawns, intimate gardens, and cozy parlors that echoed the simplicity and warmth of Chaplin's character. The mansion was a place where the great comedian could work, relax, and entertain close friends in a setting that felt like home. It was here that many small, secret gatherings were held, sessions where ideas for new films were discussed in hushed tones, and laughter filled the air as Chaplin shared his vision for a better, gentler world. But the passage of time is unkind even to the homes of legends. After Chaplin's death, Villa Chaplin passed through several hands. Despite its storied past, the property could not escape the relentless pressure for modern development. In the early 2000s, Villa Chaplin was demolished. The decision came amid rising property values and an urgent drive for redevelopment. 17. Joan Crawford. The Crawford Mansion. Joan Crawford, one of Hollywood's most enduring icons, was known for her formidable screen presence and stylish sophistication. Her mansion, later known as the Crawford Mansion, was an emblem of old Hollywood elegance. Constructed in the 1930s, the Crawford Mansion was a blend of Art Deco flair and timeless luxury. With its imposing facade, sweeping staircases, and impeccably designed interiors, the house was the stage for many lavish parties and intimate gatherings. It was here that the stars of the silver screen would come together for glamorous soirees. The mansion's spacious ballrooms were alive with the music of live bands, and its manicured gardens provided a serene escape from the pressures of fame. Joan Crawford personally oversaw the design, ensuring that every detail reflected her refined taste and larger-than-life persona. For decades, the mansion was a sanctuary for glamour and creativity, a place where every corner whispered secrets of Hollywood's glittering past. However, like many historic estates, the Crawford Mansion could not resist the pull of progress. Changing tastes and the booming modern real estate market took their toll. By the late 1990s, the once proud mansion was deemed outdated, and the costly maintenance became unsustainable. In a bid to capitalize on the valuable land, the mansion was demolished, replaced by a modern development project. 18. Clark Gable. Gable Manor. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, had a magnetic charm that captured the hearts of millions. His home, later known as Gable Manor, was a reflection of that same charismatic spirit. Built in the 1940s, Gable Manor was an exquisite example of refined elegance. The mansion featured grand columns, lavish ballrooms, and beautifully landscaped gardens. It was a place where Hollywood's elite would gather, and its halls often resonated with the sounds of laughter, clinking champagne glasses, and the occasional live jazz performance. The manor was also known for its outdoor terraces, which offered sweeping views of the Los Angeles skyline, a constant reminder of the city's dazzling allure. Gable himself was known to host private parties and exclusive events at his manor. The home became a backdrop for memorable moments, where personal milestones and career triumphs were celebrated in equal measure. However, after Gable's death, the estate gradually lost its cultural foothold. In an era where new, modern properties became the norm, Gable Manor struggled to keep pace. By the early 2000s, economic realities and redevelopment interests took over. The manor was ultimately demolished to make way for a contemporary project. 19th, Rita Hayworth, Golden Vale Mansion. Rita Hayworth, famed for her sultry beauty and captivating performances, once lived in a mansion that matched her glamorous lifestyle, the Golden Vale Mansion. This property was as enchanting as its owner, a perfect mix of mid-century sophistication and vibrant Hollywood drama. Constructed in the 1950s, the Golden Vale Mansion was designed to impress. Its architecture featured sweeping curves, elegant columns, and a blend of modern and classical details. Inside, every room was a showcase of luxury, from glittering chandeliers to plush, velvet drapes. The mansion was a favorite venue for extravagant parties, where guests from every corner of the film industry would gather to celebrate with live music, exquisite dining, and spirited conversation. The home was a symbol of Hayworth's success, her resilience, and the magnetic energy that made her a Hollywood legend. For many years, the Golden Vale Mansion was the heart of high society gatherings. Rita Hayworth herself was known for hosting themed parties and intimate dinners that left a lasting impression on all who attended. However, following the decline of her career and personal struggles, the mansion's star began to fade. Over time, maintaining such a grand residence became increasingly challenging. By the late 1990s, the mansion had fallen into disrepair. The property, once a beacon of mid-century elegance, was eventually sold. In a move driven by modern redevelopment interests and economic pressures, the Golden Vale Mansion was demolished.